Howdy folks, GrannyDee again, and look, I got some straights, and I had to buy some, knowing that I've got plenty here, but just couldn't find them. Could not find just a pair of 8s on their own at Walmart, so this set has a pair of 8s, which I already have out of the package, a pair of 9s, and a pair of 10s. Which would come in handy with different yarns. Okay, I only have a few stitches that I cast on, just like we were doing yesterday. And I don't know why I didn't think of this. I guess I thought maybe it might be too much to take in at one time, but you can totally leave your needle in here and cinch it up instead of taking it in and out, in and out. See how I'm doing this? Same thing, but I'm leaving it on this needle instead of taking it off and on. Just cinching it up with. And I'm doing it faster today because hopefully you got in lots and lots of practice yesterday. I am going to take that off just so you can see now. So see, it doesn't matter. They still look good. I just cinched them up with the needle in. When you learn to really get the hang of this, which hopefully you had all, well, I was going to say you had all day long to practice casting on. I'm sure you had other stuff you had to do, but it's still there, so if you need to go back and practice, or if you want to just do it like this, leaving it on the needle instead of taking it in and out, here you go. And I hope I noticed yesterday when I watched the replay, sometimes I was on camera and sometimes I wasn't. I'm still trying to get the hang of this camera being down like this and me being able to see what's on. Anywho, there we go. And let's just see how many we've got here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, lucky 13. Let's do a few more. Today I'm going to take you through the knit stitch, which is very much like this type of cast on. Okay. I noticed I got a thumbs down. I don't know whether that was just somebody being snarky or somebody couldn't get this or my camera skills or all the above. Sometimes you just get those thumbs down just because some people don't like you, or I don't know why. Just because. I told you when I got my very first thumbs down, I've had several. I was upset for a little while, and then I thought, shoot, even big folks with lots of subscribers, like Crystal for one, bless her heart, they get lots of thumbs down. Thumbs downs. And they just take it in stride, so that's what I need to do too. You can't please everybody, for sure. Okay, but you see, all that I've done different today is I've left this needle on instead of pulling it out every time, and your stitches still look fine. Let's see how many we've got here now, because I was talking instead of counting. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 21. Let's make one more just for an even Steven. And it doesn't have to be, we're just practicing, remember? And I did say shawl yesterday for our first project instead of scarf. Totally meant scarf. But really, like what I said, you're going to make And unless you're just different than me and a fast learner, I know some of you said you already know how to knit. This is totally for, I mean, you know, of course you can watch if you already know how to knit. But sorry, just can't. Camera's shaking again because I keep hitting this table, but it's just going to happen, I guess. Totally for the beginner, and like I said, of course anybody could watch, brush up. Maybe it's been a while since you have knitted, and you know there's many ways to do things. Like I say, many ways to cast on. This is just one of them, but I think it's a pretty good one. But really, all this is just practice, okay? Like I said yesterday, you're gonna have holes to begin with. If you're a very new knit, you're just now learning, you're gonna have holes, you're gonna lose stitches, you're gonna increase stitches, and just don't get upset about it. That happened to me. Sometimes it still happens, and I still make boo-boos, and I have to go back and frog, so it happens. Just don't get frustrated and don't quit on me. Just keep trying. Okay. In knitting, what you're doing to make rows of knitting, and I know this isn't a lot cast on. If you were doing a scarf, you would want to, you know, however much, when you spread these out, however wide this is how wide your piece is going to be, your scarf, say, if that's your first project. But this is just a practice piece. I may end up pulling it out several times and starting over. You may do that too. Or you may just keep going and keep your holes and stuff. Of course, if you increase stitches or decrease stitches, you might want to pull it back off and start over again. But, so what you're going to be doing, every time you do a row, I'm taking all the stitches off of here, knitting them off of here, and then they're going to go on here. And then I'm just going to switch my needles around again. You'll see it after I get going. And as you take them off of one and put them on the other, you're making more rows. So my piece is going to grow out this way, okay? So if this were a scarf, this would be the width of the scarf. Not very wide, is it? But this is just practice, okay? So don't start out thinking about making a project. Let's just practice, okay? So you stick it in just like we did before, and you're holding everything in your left hand. Now, if you're left-handed, you're going to have to watch somebody who teaches you that way. I'm a righty, so this is the way I do it. So just like before, you're going to take it in and through. This one stays still. This one's going to stand on its head. But instead of taking it off and making another one, and see how I'm kind of pushing things with this hand, and I'm going to flip that off, and it goes over here, okay? And now you're connected because you still have stitches over here on your left needle that we're going to have to bring over to our right. Okay, watch this. Keep watching. Do it just like we did before. The only difference is I take it off, but I'm putting them on this needle. Okay, that's 2 knit stitches. Here's my 3rd knit stitch. Take it around through. This stands on its head, catches that stitch. You pull it off of here and onto this needle. You're knitting. What? Yeah. And again, you can slow this down when you watch it if I don't go slow enough for you, but I'm going pretty doggone slow. But I would turn the volume down, or you're gonna hear Granny talk like this. But what you do is, and I'm sure you folks probably know that, you go to your playback speed and you just slow it down. But since this is recorded, you can just hit the rewind button, watch it over and over and over as many times as you need to. This is just the knit stitch, okay? That's all we're going to focus on right now. We'll get around to purling later. Want to make sure you got this down. Okay, you just stick it in, holding both with the left hand. Go back around through just like we did yesterday. It's the very same as the cast on that we did, which is one reason why I wanted to do that cast on. It makes knitting so much easier, because you basically did it, except instead of taking them off and putting them on this other needle, you just put them back on here to get your stitches so that we could do this. So when you cast it on, that's to get your stitches on the needle so that we could knit them. Hope I'm on the screen good enough. It's really hard to... If I could just have this hanging in midair and no clamp on it, I could see what I was doing real easy, but the clamp gets in my way from seeing what I'm doing. So if I get off camera, that's why I'm trying to focus and make sure that I'm on here for you. Am I going too fast? Spreading these out so you can see those are all knitted stitches now. Just stick it in like we did yesterday when we were casting on. We brought it around and through just like we did yesterday. We stand this on our head and catch our stitch just like we did yesterday, but instead of pulling it up, twisting and put it on here, we're taking it off. And then it goes to this needle. So only that last step is different. When you go there, you take it off and it goes to this needle. Okay, very same thing you did yesterday, except that last step. Just 2 more stitches to knit. And y'all, this yarn, I don't know where I got it, but it sure is soft. Lovely to work with, and I love the color. Okay, now you want to cinch. That's where our tail end is. And sometimes that gets a little loose, but looky there. It's your first row of knitted stitches. And you see what we did? We took them all off of, they were on this needle. We took them all off and put them on this needle. So now we just transfer, we put this needle in the left hand and put this needle in the right hand. Just disregard that tail and leave it hanging. See, there's a row of knit stitches. And I know it looks kind of crazy right now. It'll look better as we get more on. Okay, so we twist them around like that. There we go. You can go all around like that. Okay, so you take your working yarn. And we're just going to start over doing the very same thing. Stick it in. Hold both of them with your one hand. Take your working yarn, goes around the back, through. This needle does the work, stands on its head, catches that stitch, but we pull it off down, put it over here. And you'll have to pull it, work on your tension each time. Stick it in, you wrap, standing on its head, pull it off. Don't forget that pull it off part. That's where a lot of people mess up, and they have all this mess in between the needles. That's why we're not concentrating on a project just yet. We're just practicing. So this, we're not really making anything. We're just practicing our knit stitches. I guess when you learned crochet, you didn't start right away making something. Some people suggested that our first project be a pot holder, which was totally fine. And, you know, and I did say that about a scarf. Totally said shawl the first time and didn't mean that, meant a scarf. Our first project will be a scarf, but we're not there yet. We're just still practicing. The only reason I didn't say dishcloth, and that is a good project, but the thing about a dishcloth is, and I did comment that on whoever it was, there were a couple people who said, yeah, that would be a good idea. And it is a good idea because it's a small project, instant gratification. But with a washcloth or dishcloth, you're going to want to use 100% cotton. And you could totally do that with learning, but I just don't suggest using cotton as your, I would just use a stretchy worsted weight yarn like we have here. Cotton doesn't stretch, and I just think you'll have more problems learning with cotton. And it's a little stiffer, and I just think using an acrylic is better to start with. Once you get it down, yeah, totally switch over to cotton and make a pot holder, which is just, you can do it the same way with just all knit stitches, which we call garter. A garter pattern is a pattern that has all knit stitches, all knit rows. Probably going too fast, aren't I? Sorry, I forget I'm teaching. So you stick it in, go around just like we did yesterday when we were casting on. Just like yesterday we were casting on, that goes off. But instead of then pulling it out, twisting and putting another thing on, we're taking it off. Putting our stitches over here. You see how we're making this bigger? This is our second row. Got one row. Well, this is our first row here. This is the row we're working on now. So all you do is you're taking stitches off of one needle, putting them on the other needle. And as you do that, you're making rows, increasing the length of your piece. Stick it in, hold it. Somebody asked about why is that called a thrower, and I mentioned it yesterday, but maybe I mentioned it, it was pretty quick. Because you're throwing or wrapping, I know you really don't think of this as throwing, but English throwers and continental knitters are called pickers because they pick the yarn. You can look at some examples of continental knitting. And if you want to learn continental knitting, totally do that. It's more efficient, it's faster. I just never really learned it. I learned in 9th grade when I was in 4-H, so a long time ago, since I'm 60 years old now. And you know, as much knitting as I've done, I've never done socks. I've never done a sweater or any kind of wearable other than a shawl. I've done some ponchos. I just like doing easy stuff, but I totally need to challenge myself one day and make those things. But right now I'm stuck with trying to finish up a whole bunch of whips I've started. My ADD squirrels. I get new needles, a new furl hook, rather. Or new needles, like that ginger set of needles I got on vacation. Look at there. And just pull that last one a little bit more. We've done another row of knit stitches. And yeah, it might look a mess right now, but I promise it'll get better. It'll look better as we go through. Here's 2 rows of knit. Here's what it looks like on this side. And you do have a wrong side and a right side. This is the right side. You can tell how different it looks. And yeah, it's curling up a little bit. When you do, later on, we'll do stockinette where you knit a row and then purl a row. And it looks really good, but it curls like mad. That's just the nature of the beast. That's just real loose right there. We'll pull it. Okay, so see, we emptied the needle again, and then we just transferred, put this one that was in our right hand over in our left hand, and took this needle that was in our left hand and put it in our right hand. And then we just go again, stick it in the back, make that little cross. This goes around back and through and catches that and pulls it off. You stop talking so much and concentrate on showing this. And you might could see it better if I'd move that out of the way, huh? And there's lots of different kinds of knitting needles. There's, just like in crochet hooks, you've got metal or aluminum like these. You've got wooden ones, you've got acrylic, you've got all kinds. These are just cheap. Wooden ones don't slide quite as much. I mean, the grip on it's not quite as bad. And actually, wood might be better, then you won't lose stitches off the end. You got to be careful about that. And I kind of hold them with my finger as I go. See how that goes? Just like what we were doing yesterday. But when we get to this point, instead of pulling up on it, twisting it, and stick it back on here, we just take it off. It goes to this needle. Are you getting it? I hope. Just go slow. But if you mess up, start over. If you need to go back and watch the cast on again, do that. I did cast on at the beginning of this, but I kind of went not as slowly as I did yesterday. Golly, I didn't mean to make that one yesterday like 30 minutes long, because you can go back and just rewind. Remember, you can slow down the speed, but you'll want to totally turn the sound down so you don't hear me talking like that. Or maybe you do. It's funny. You getting it? Some people, I've seen folks, they do all this stuff here, but they forget to take it off, then they have a mess here. And you might do that at first. Oops, sorry, my yarn barf's coming over here at us. I hope I'm staying in the camera so I don't have to do this again. Down to our last stitch. And we've done our third row. And you can pull on the tail when you get to that end. Now see, this is the right side of our work. A while ago, we were showing the wrong side, which looks like that. And we just trade hands. Put this now that was in our right hand is over on in our left hand now. Sometimes you might have to scoot your stitches up so they're not way down here and you're pulling them and stuff. Just keep your finger here to keep them from sliding off the tip of the end. So you stick it in, you cross, take the yarn, go around and through in the middle. This stands on its head, catches that stitch, but then we take it off. Unlike what we did yesterday when we were casting on. See? It's not hard, is it? This is just the knit stitch. Which is, you know, before you get to the fancy stuff, like, and I have done cables. I mentioned I haven't made wearables. But you know, I was intimidated by cables. I thought, ah, that looks so fancy. I'll never be able to do that. All you're doing with cables, those really neat, twisted, braided looking things that people have in sweaters, different things, cows, whatever. You're just changing the order of the stitches. It is not hard at all. But before you tackle cables, you really need to gotta get the basics. This knit stitch. Then we'll do some pearls, and we'll get around to some yarn overs, like I mentioned yesterday. Yarn overs, knitting two togethers, purling two togethers. Maybe we'll do some sort of some patterns. I don't read charts. I'm sure it's not hard. I've just never taken the time to do that. By the way, if you're maybe a knitter but you want to learn to crochet, and I'm a novice crocheter, Dana from Wanderlust Crochet has a wonderful beginner crocheter program she's doing. So go to her channel on YouTube. I think it's Dana or Dana's Wanderlust Crochet now. It used to just be Wanderlust Crochet. And don't quote me on that, but I want to say that's right. But if you do a search, it should pop up. W-A-N-D-E-R, Wanderlust, L-U-S-T, Wanderlust. And then crochet. And it might be, like I say, Dana's Wanderlust Crochet now. So there we go. We got them all off again. I'm just kind of pulling them to straighten them up. Yeah, this first one's going to be loose, but you'll tighten it up when you get it going. So we just move things around in the opposite hand again. You can scrunch them up so they're easier to work with. You don't want them way down here on your needle when you're working on them and you're taking them off from one needle to the other as you create rows. So you want to kind of scooch them up. Here we go with another row. Is this our fourth row? Fifth row, I haven't been taking. Yeah, and I got this, looky there, I split. See, even in knitting you can split stitches, so I'm gonna take that off and put it back on. Let's give that a little tug and get that out of the way. So you don't do that and put it back on like we did yesterday. You take the whole thing off. But it's like what we did yesterday, as I said many, many times before, but we take it off. And it goes to this needle. Hope this should be very close, but I hope it's not fuzzy looking. Hope the quality is decent. I wanted to zoom in so you could see very clearly where I'm sticking the needle in and exactly what I'm doing. Like I said, that Very Pink Knits is a good site for learning things. It's just that for my old eyes, it doesn't seem like she zooms in quite as close as I need it, or closely as I need to see what she's doing. See what we're doing here? Just the same thing over and over again, taking the stitches off of this needle, putting them on this, but we're not just taking them off and putting them over here. When we're wrapping, and I think I squirreled, I didn't finish that thought about the thrower and stuff, or maybe I did, heck, I don't know. When we wrap, we're creating, when we do this and this, then we're making a new row, because we're creating a new stitch. New stitches for a whole row. It's making our project longer. See how I'm getting a lot of rows? Hang on just a minute. I'll finish that thought maybe. Last stitch. Now they're all on here. And I just give it a little tug. Look at there. See how we're making this? It's coming out this way with our stitches. We're not making it any wider this way. So when we finish up and we bind off, this will be the width, and we'll make it real long if we were doing a scarf. But like I said, you can start out trying to make a scarf if you're really getting it, not making any mistakes. But, you know, a lot of folks maybe will get this far and then it'll make a big mess. So it's easier just to take it all off then and start over again. And don't get mad at yourself. You're learning. It takes a while. What was I starting to say a while ago? Oh, about throwing. Yeah, you're just... not actually throwing, but that's what they call it when you're wrapping the yarn. It's just called in English. And I know we're American, but we speak English. But it's called in English, or just some people say I knit the English style, or I'm a thrower. And all that means the same thing. I'm just trying to get this from being such a mess. Putting it over there. Okay, so I'm going to scrunch it up again, get it close up here. I'm just going to do maybe another row, because golly, I'm over 30 minutes again. And I totally wouldn't have to do this long, because you could just, like I say, rewind and rewatch. But I end up chatting, and then it goes to 30-some minutes. I'm getting close to 35 minutes, but whatever. I sure hope you're getting this. Main thing is don't give up. If you make a mess, pull it off. Cast on more stitches. You don't have to cast on 22. You can do more. You can do... I probably wouldn't do a whole lot less because you want to see how your work's progressing. You don't want some tiny little thing. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. We'll talk about it on live today. Today's Wednesday, live at 5. And yay, I get to go to the doctor, pray that everything's going to turn out well. I'm sure they'll need to draw some blood, see what's going on. Check where my iron levels are since I've been taking iron for about a month now, I guess. Doesn't seem that long, but I guess it's been about that. Time for my B12 shots. And we'll talk about that kidney thing too. I'm praying and believing that it's gone and that we won't even have anything to deal with, but we do need to check, get a CT scan and make sure. So we'll talk about all that. I just got to go to get refills. You know how the doctors keep you coming to get those your meds refilled, but you know, they need to see you ever so often. So you see how that's looking? Pretty good, huh? And there we go. All right, I'm gonna stop there. And I hope you're doing well. Just keep on, keep it on, transferring from one needle to the other needle with your knit stitches, and your work is just going to keep growing. Okay. Love you. Be sweet. Don't be ugly. And hope to see you at 5. All right. Bye-bye.